to Southeast Asia, this could be the first standing Hindu temple in the Mekong Delta. It's actually in Cambodia today, but it's the other side of the river is Vietnam. And there's this port called Okeo, which it has a lagoon. Is the next picture? No, we haven't got it. The lagoon is a bit like the Venetian lagoon and allows shelter for ships who made the long sea journey. And from there's possible floor plans of Hindu temples and Buddhist temples from the 1st century, 2nd century, but you get standing ones that are still there in total from the 4th, 5th, 6th centuries. And by the 4th, 5th, 6th century, Indian Brahmins, left and right, are converging on the courts of Southeast Asia and telling the chieftains that if they follow Brahminical Hinduism and Brahminical ways, they will become great lords. And so you find this extraordinary process by which the courts of Southeast Asia are filled with ethnic Brahmins, although the DNA evidence is beginning to show that some of the people that were claiming to be Brahmins quite clearly were not. And we're now getting very detailed DNA reports that a lot of sort of South Indians from a whole variety of backgrounds were turning up and joining these courts. And they brought with them Sanskrit, ideas of Hindu kingship, ideas of the myth, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and you get, over a period of 300 or 400 years, the growth of extraordinary temples, very much. This is the Shore Temple at Mahabalipuram, which you will all know. This is a similar-ish temple built 5 years later in Java. And the speed with which the rapid architectural change in South India is reflected and sometimes anticipated in the standing remains by what's going on in Java and Sumatra is astonishing. And then very early on in Prambanan, you get a very full Ramayana cycle before we have any surviving Ramayana cycle in India. Which is not to say that there wasn't one that is lost, but the Prambanan Ramayana has something like 250 panels with the whole story in great detail, in full sort of Super Gupta style.
Super Gupta, you say?
I mean, it's sort of the Gupta, but even sort of turbocharged Gupta. And they're beautiful. You can see they're absolutely astonishing images, but done by local craftsmen using Indian models. And then you get the same thing going on, just like a lot of the kings are taking on Hinduism and being given superpowers or promised superpowers, and all the full weight of authority that Hindu kingship can bring. The merchant classes are taking on equally enthusiastically Buddhism, and so you get monuments modeled on monuments now in Bihar, Bengal, and Bangladesh, reaching their highest forms in Borobudur. There's a whole series of slightly smaller, now ruined monuments that end up clearly in the full glory of Borobudur, now in Java, which are crumbling in Kesaria, in Bihar, in Sompur, which is this enormous, you've written about it in your columns.
Super.
In Bangladesh, but it survives intact, perfect, absolutely gorgeous in Java. And then finally, by the 12th century, Angkor Wat, where we started off with the extraordinary, largest religious monument in the world, not just the largest Hindu temple.
I only found out recently just how big Angkor Wat is because I've never visited.
You've got a treat.
Yes, I'm very much looking forward to it. So I was looking at an elevation diagram of Angkor Wat and comparing it to the elevation diagrams of other colossal Indian temples. So if any of you have been to the Brihadishwara temple in Tanjore, for example, you know how large 11th, 12th century South Indian temples were getting. And this is almost twice the height of that. And there's multiple towers like the central one around the enclosure. It's just extraordinary. I find myself a loss for words to imagine how they engineered something that massive.
Another thing